Hello and welcome to the 12 Months to Marathon podcast with me, John Hill, the running podcast for the over 35s with Marathon Dreams. Episode 25, Random End of Year Musings. Now, I'm in Poland at the moment for Christmas, as I may have mentioned before. So I've got a bit of time on my hands actually, so I wanted to do a couple of last podcasts for the year. So again, apologies if the sound's not as great as it has been, because where I record these in Poland can be a little bit echoey, so hopefully it's all good. But I'm gonna talk about a few things here. Just end of year, like I said, end of year musings. So stuff that's happened over the last few months. Well, yes, running related. I think a lot of running is mindset based. So I think if you can improve your mindset around other areas of life, I think that's always going to benefit your running. So what's been happening with me? Well, I'm still marathon training. I'm into week 5 as I sit here. So it's very cold here. So in the mornings when I go running, it's anywhere from sort of -1 to -4, so it's quite cold, but it's dry, so it's not like slippery, if that makes sense. So it's not like black ice or anything, so it's actually quite good running conditions if you keep yourself moving and just get yourself wrapped up appropriately. So it's pretty good. So I'm into week 5. I'm seeing the impact of the compound effect of training, which I've talked about before now, and I've been really focused on making sure I'm getting my speed work in, because I'll be honest, I'm human like everybody else, and one thing I always tend to try and avoid in my marathon training cycle is the speed work. I can do miles and I can add miles on miles each week, but I've always been a little bit apprehensive regarding my speed work because it's tough and it's hard. And what I've noticed is here, because I get to sleep a bit more, because in my other stuff that I do run a fairly early morning group fitness session every day, Monday to Friday at 6 a.m. So here I don't obviously do that, so I'm sleeping a lot better and recovering a lot better. So I've noticed that's had an impact on my performance in running. And I've also noticed a few Garmin users out there that I've been productive on Garmin now for a good few weeks, and that's rare. And I think that's down to the recovery as well. So my fitness is increasing and everything else. So I feel quite good, to be fair. I know about it, because I don't, like I've always said, you can't rest and recover your way to 26.2 miles. You've got to put the miles in, and you are going to feel it. So, and I am, nearly 48 years old, which I don't feel because I can perform quite well. So, but I do have to look after myself, and I do have to recover well, and I do have to make sure my diet is as good as I can make it at this time of year, and it's been okay. Which brings me on to the point of this podcast, really. So a little bit of background. As I've talked about before, I'm not sure how much detail I went into, so pardon my memory. But so I started losing weight at the age of 28 for the last time. Now, I lost weight briefly in my early 20s. It was a lot easier then because I was young and my testosterone levels were high and I'm a man, so it's a lot easier for men to lose weight because of muscle mass primarily. So I lost quite a bit of weight in my early 20s. But as you know from my story, if you've not heard it, please feel free to listen to the intro episode. Get my words out. I lost weight for the last time at the age of 28. Now, I have pretty much put every single substance into my body possible. Alcohol, I smoked for 16 years, 10 to 15 cigarettes a day. Not a heavy smoker, because I come from a place where, as I said, I'm in my mid-40s, and growing up in the sort of 80s in the UK, a lot of people smoked. They don't anymore because of the smoking ban and vaping. It's been definitely a change, but I smoked for 16 years, man and boy. Haven't had a cigarette for 4.5 years. So what happened was I quit full-time in 2006 and then struggled with social smoking for a few years up until 2019. When my son was born, I was like, I didn't go out that much anyway because I'm a fitness professional, so I haven't really got the time or the energy to be drunk or hungover. But when I drank, I smoked. I had a friend of mine who smoked as well, so I'd have a couple of cigarettes with him. But if he wasn't there, I wouldn't do it. It was just this one particular friend. Anyway, so long story short, I gave up full-time smoking in 2006, and I stopped socially smoking. I had my last social, quote-unquote, cigarette in 2020. And this, fast forward, July 2023, I am not a big drinker, but when I was young, I drank a lot. Not excessively, like every night, because again, I had a job, and it wasn't even then, it wasn't really the done thing. Like, I wouldn't go to the pub every night because I never had any money to do that. So I was a big drinker, but I wasn't like a I never had a problem, I would say, with alcohol, so I'm not going to sit here and say that I had. The only real thing I had a problem, the only really thing I've struggled with over the years, addiction-wise, is smoking and gambling a little bit in my late teens, early 20s with fruit machines. God bless them. And that was a problem that I had. But when someone says they've got an addictive personality, all humans have got an addictive personality. It's just where you choose to focus that addiction. So I never had a problem with alcohol per se. I could always take it or leave it. But I used to drink quite a bit in my 20s. And then what happened was, as I got into the fitness game, my drinking kind of slowed down. I wouldn't go out and binge drink regularly, because it's just I didn't have the social circle to do that. Now, what happened so that translated to basically what I did for a couple of years was I'd have like one glass of vodka and Coke every Saturday night, which was kind of symbolic. And then if I did go out, which again was rare because of the family situation, I would sort of have a few drinks, including our Christmas party for the group fitness program that I run. So I told you this would be musings, didn't I? But I'm getting to the point. So basically, in July 23, I was at a mastermind for a business group that I'm part of. And we went to have a meal afterwards. And I had a few beers. I wasn't drunk, but I was sort of on the way. Tipsy is the old school expression for it. And I, shock horror to everybody, get quite opinionated. Now, whilst I'm entitled to my opinion, when I have a drink, I get to the place where everybody else is entitled to my opinion, and I've got some quite strong opinions on certain things, and I don't hide those opinions, but they are only relevant when they are asked of me. Okay, so what tends to happen is I'm quite an eccentric person, and there's a few layers to me which I'm working through, which I'll do on the second one of these. But when I drink, I do it to play a character and to become more animated. And it allows me to become somebody that I really don't want to be, if that makes sense. So it's not actually about the health side of things with alcohol for me. It's more about the character side of things. It's more about who I want to become. Okay. And I've realised that for some work I've done this year, which I'll talk about in the second Musings podcast. Now, so that was July 23. So I sort of said to myself after that, okay, I need to sort of wind this in a little bit. So I didn't really drink that much last year. I had a drink at my Christmas party. I was drunk, but I wasn't sort of staggering around, falling over drunk. And then this year, it kind of worked that I thought, okay, let's stop drinking at all every weekend, not even a glass, because that was more of a symbolic thing. I wasn't getting drunk every weekend, but it was more of a symbolic thing. So I stopped doing that. And it turned out that I had one drink in January, which was after High Rocks, when I qualified for the High Rocks World Championships in Manchester. I got home, had a beer. And then I had a glass of wine, I think, just randomly. I think it was about March. And that was the last time I drank alcohol this year. So I didn't get drunk at my Christmas party, which I always get drunk at. So for the first time in 12 years of having those parties, I didn't drink at all. I drove. I didn't drink at another event I go to with some other friends of mine and colleagues, another thing that I'm part of. Didn't drink there either. And then I didn't drink at Christmas. And that's the first time I haven't had anything at all to drink at Christmas, as long as I can remember. Again, I always put the caveat in there because I'm not a massive drinker, so it's not like I'm like recovering from a problem or anything like that. But these are quite symbolic. So the alcohol thing for me was a big thing this year of not drinking as much. And it was more about not the health stuff and certainly not the sanctimonious stuff, because I'm not very big on that. I've been in the fitness industry a long time and I don't think we should use things to try and make other people feel bad. I think we should always do things for the benefit of ourselves first and foremost, and then the people that we immediately care about. And that's really had an impact, because the day after the do, where I normally have quite a few drinks at our Christmas party, I didn't, and I felt okay, of course, a bit tired, 'cause it was a late-ish night, and my son gets up quite early, but I still went for a run, and I still didn't have the 3-day hangover, and I feel okay. And I'm not missing it, because I'm getting into the habit now of not doing it, which is really, really powerful. So it proves to me the power of habits, and the power of not doing something regularly and proving to yourself that you can. So two things. Firstly, what I always find interesting is who gets the most offended by you not drinking. And that's an interesting one. Who gets the most offended by it? Because my brain defaults into 19-year-old John, where you used to get put under pressure by your friends. And that's not like that. That was 30 years ago. It's not like that now. But I default to that. But it's always interesting, I find, who gets triggered by it and what that says about them, which I find interesting. That's just an interesting point. And the second side to it is what I challenge you to do as a runner. is do something that will blow your mind or is a big deal. Because for me, this is going to sound bizarre to anybody out there who doesn't drink, but me not drinking at our Christmas party was a massive deal. It was a big deal. I remember driving down there and sitting there and drinking non-alcoholic beer thinking, this is weird. And it was weird. And then having to deal with I'm not drinking. But that was my problem. And it's a big deal for me, even though, again, I wasn't a massive drinker anyway. So the point of this random musing, if you're still here after me just rambling on, is to say, I always think it's worth sometimes challenging yourself to do something you never thought you were capable of, and maybe just challenging certain beliefs you have about yourself, because that's where this comes from. And I did a video, a post on this the other day on Instagram. Please make sure you follow me, 12 Months to Marathon over there. And it is about challenging beliefs. It's not about the thing that you do, because sometimes people get really emotional and really invested in the thing that they do. And for me, it's not the thing that you do. It's the beliefs that sit behind it. So if it's alcohol, for example, or it's a certain type of food, or it's a belief that you can't run a certain distance or run a certain pace, just be careful that you are not thinking that it's a physical thing when it's actually a belief thing. Because a lot of times it's a belief thing. So the first thing I want to share with you for the last couple of podcasts of this year is be careful about those beliefs. Because I always believed that I was a drinker. I always believed years ago I was a smoker. I always believed years ago I was fat and I could never do anything. And I've changed all of that by challenging deep-rooted beliefs I have about myself. And that's the message. So it comes from a place of, if you'd have seen me 25 years ago versus now and me having this conversation, if I'd have seen me, it would have blown my mind to sit there and have this conversation. Now, again, maturity plays a part there, but with respect, I know a lot of people who are my age, who I knew then, who are still the same, who still drink all the time and still do all those things. And you have to sometimes sit there and go, what beliefs have I got that are not serving me? What isn't serving me? What behaviours or habits have I got that are not serving me? And remember, they're yours. And it's up to you what you do with them. It's not up to anybody else what you do with your happiness. Okay. Now, if you've got a family and if you've got people that rely on you and things like that, that's what's called an ecology issue. It's an environmental issue where there are other people who've got a vested interest in things that you do. But usually when it comes to things like alcohol, it's not your family that put the pressure on you. Your family don't force you to do it. It's normally a social thing. So challenge those beliefs. And that's the first message I want to give today, because I've challenged a lot of beliefs towards the end of this year, including that. And I'll talk about some more in the second one, which may help you. But hopefully you can see the link to running here, because the link to running is, what beliefs have you got about running that you could challenge, or you as a runner that you could challenge? For example, we've had a lot of chat at the moment about the slow runner, I'm not a runner thing, and whether that's beneficial or not. And that's always a debate worth having. So I wanted to share that with you because it's been a big thing for me. And I wanted to share it with you guys because I appreciate you listening, and thank you very much. The support on this podcast this year has been phenomenal, so I really, really appreciate it, and thank you. So I want to get that out there now. I will say it again, but I just want to make sure that you hear that now. So thank you very much for your support. I really, really appreciate it. I'm so grateful and delighted that people want to hear what I have to say, and I appreciate it that people find it valuable. I'm genuinely grateful for that, and I genuinely appreciate all of you, because I think the last count this had been listened to in over 30 countries, which as that ex-fat kid who couldn't run a bath inside me says, that's just mind-blowing. So thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to go and follow me at 12 Months to Marathon over on Instagram. If you have a spring marathon coming up, end of April time, training will start in January. I'm getting a lot of questions around training plans, which I've talked about before. Some of them do trouble me slightly, just in the sense that I'm not sure people have got the plan on point, and you need that because January will be here before we know it. So if you do want any help on that side, coaching side or support side, we can have a chat, no problem. Just reach out at 12 Months to Marathon. Look, if we can help you, great. If we can't, at least you ask the question. That's no problem at all. And as always, don't forget to like and share this podcast. Share it. The sharing's really important. I do appreciate that. And make sure you favourite it wherever you get your podcasts from. And subscribe as well. That's really, really important to me. And I do appreciate it. And I'll keep doing these little bite-sized episodes every week to make sure you get all the help and support you need. So again, thank you very much for this year. I will say that on next week's again. We'll do another random musings. Thanks for listening. I appreciate that. I hope it's been valuable, and I'll catch you all very, very soon.